that anybody who has 20-pound notes or 50-pound notes, you've got until the end of September to hand it in, otherwise they will no longer be usable. So, public announcement, those of you who have 20-pound notes or 50-pound notes. This is not a joke, this is serious. By the end of September, your 20-pound note and 50-pound note will not be usable anymore. Why are we bringing this up? Because we will, in this Western world that we are living in, you come across sayings and teachings. What are the sayings? Time is money. You're wasting my time, I can earn some money, why are you bothering me? Or you need to earn economic credit. Or you rather start early so that compounding will give you the best returns. A value should be based on the present value of cash flows over a period of time. That's how they calculate the return on a loan, by the way. Why should I pay someone else's mortgage? I'd rather invest now and take a loan. I need to buy now, I won't afford it later. It's a limited risk or risk-free investment. You can't win, you can't lose on this. Inflation is the enemy of the current account. You don't leave money in the account, you must make sure it works. Buy the dip. When the prices are going down, make sure you buy it. Short the stock. Sell it because you're buying it with the intention of selling it. And those Bitcoiners amongst us, you know the hashtag HODL. Hold on to a Bitcoin for dear life. That's what they exchange the messages between them. So the above statements are standard, what they call facts, or sometimes theory. It's taught in all Western MBA courses and financial courses. And it's also taught to all asset managers and those who are actually running finance, asset managing around the world, whether it be Muslim world or not. It's the same thing that are taught. And so the question that we have is, this system results in inequality. It encourages seeking wealth not only from what Allah has decreed, which is your risk. Remember, your risk is already predetermined. But it also encourages you to get wealth which is allocated to someone else. So that's the definition of riba. We saw the ayat earlier on. What the system enables is those with the means get richer, those without the means stay the same. Or with their money becoming less and less to become poorer and poorer. In a hadith that was narrated by Ubadah ibn al-Samit, I'm just going to focus on a few things here. It says gold is to be paid with gold, which is raw and coined. Silver was paid in kind with silver, raw and coined, in equal weight. Wheat with wheat, barley with barley, dates with dates, salt with salt. But there is no harm in selling gold for silver or silver for gold in unequal weight, as long as payment is made on the spot. Do not sell them if they are to be paid for later. These are hadith and it is lessons that Rasulullah is teaching us. And why is Rasulullah mentioning these factors? Gold, wheat, silver, barley, dates, salt. These were all at some stage used as a means of currency. That is the reference, that is the relevance to what we are doing. If you understand the nature of this, we can learn some principles from what is these commodities or what are these currencies or these exchanges. What we learn is the value of wheat. If you don't use it and you can't sell it, can you consume it yourself? So it does have value for you in the long term. The same with salt. Salt was used as a preservative, especially when there was no refrigerating back in those days. You needed to have salt. The same, and so what we're looking at is from this we derive a definition of what money is. And I'm going to put this definition forward and we're going to go through it very quickly. So what we are saying here is the definition is money has to be a store of value. There must be a finite supply. It can't be an unlimited supply. If there's an unlimited supply of something, then everybody will have it. Like gold and silver wasn't available everywhere. Dates also wasn't available everywhere. So there must be a limited amount of supply. It must be a store of value. In other words, you could use it now or later. It must be a means of exchange, and it must have a degree of permanency. In other words, in the people of the cave, they had a coin which after 309 years, they went back into the town and they used the same coin to go and buy something. that money had value. I'm asking you, in 300 years, will your $20 or $100 note, New Zealand dollar, be able to buy anything? So we're coming up with a definition of what money is, based on these principles that we are trying to extract. It has intrinsic value. In other words, the value of the money is in it itself. And now we're trying to compare that to what is fiat or paper money as we can, which is dollars, euros, pounds, etc. So does paper money have a finite supply? If we know that banks keep on printing it, it's unlikely. It's a question mark of whether there is a minimum supply or it can be a store of value. Some can argue, yes, I can go and take a $10 note and go and buy a kebab with it. It's a store of value. So that's a question mark. It's not clear cut. Is it a means of exchange? I don't think any of us will argue that you can use it to exchange. You give it, you get something. So yes, that you can have. Does it have permanency? Unlikely. Please take your £20 and £50 notes and give it in. Same had happened in India a few years ago with a 500 rupee note, if you recall. If you still have rupee notes under your mattress, use it as bonfire material. The value is in the money itself. Everything that we mentioned, dates, gold, silver, barley, wheat, salt, it has value in it itself. Your paper note does not have value in it itself 100 years from now. Or 10 years from now, the value would have been eaten away through inflation. Is it referred to in Quran and Sunnah? There are many ayats in the Quran that talk about the use of gold and silver. Ayats that talk about what awaits us in Jannah, inshallah, where you will be passed around with goblets made of silver, almost looking like crystal. And you'll have bracelets of gold. Allah refers to gold and silver in the Quran in various different ayats. So gold and silver is referred to in the Quran. This should give us comfort that gold and silver is Sunnah money. We now go and compare this to digital coins, and these views is only my own. It's nobody else. So I'm just putting it out there. These are my own, and I'm welcome to accept an alternate view. But this is what my understanding of it is. When you look at virtual coins, which is Bitcoin and everything else, normally they advertise it that it looks like gold, but I think, in my view, when it looks like those gambling coins, it probably looks better that way. But that you can disagree with my view. This is my viewpoint. Is it a store of value? I'm not sure. Does it have a finite supply? The Bitcoiners will say, yes, there's only 21 million that's ever going to be made. The Ethereum guys will say, no, there's more than 21 million. So there's differences of opinion on whether there's a limited supply. Is it a means of exchange? Of course. People are buying pizzas with Bitcoin, and you can buy this or buy that. So yes, it is a means of exchange. That we accept. Does it have permanency? In 20 years, will your Bitcoin be valued? Or 100 years' time, will you be able to use your Bitcoin? I don't know the answer to that. I have my doubts, but I don't know the answer. Does it have intrinsic value? Well, if you listen to everybody who is promoting Bitcoin, and I'm not saying whether they're right or wrong, I'm just explaining what their viewpoint is. They are saying that the value is in the utility, in the use of it. Not in it in itself, in it what the use is. So what people think the value of it will be, it has utility, and that's why it's got intrinsic utility. This is their argument, not mine. Is it referred to in Sunnah? Definitely not. I couldn't find any relevance. I may be wrong. So if we go to what is Ribah, and quickly go through it, we find that Ribah is actually a moral question. It's closely connected to how we do our transactions. Equal for equal. There must be equality in the transaction. No oppression. And I'm going to quickly go through to a few others because we're running out of time. But importantly, every successive Muslim generation will be faced with the challenge of giving new dimensions and a fresh economic meaning to this term of Riba. The means with which we are going to be operating will be changed. Our children will operate in a different world. But the principles that are entrenched in the Quran and the Sunnah is what we need to use to evaluate whether what we are going to be using, our children are going to be using, whether that's sound, tayyib money or not. And this is what we have identified, all the different forms of riba. Lending money with interest, deception in money dealings, unequal exchanges of value, expectation of gain without effort by the lender, any addition to something above its original size or amount, making money from money, oppression using economic warfare, any unlawful addition to money or goods that I lend, risk-free investments. There is no such thing. Allah Ta'ala encourages you to take risks, and it is a share of either you winning or losing, gaining or loss. That's trade. There's nothing where it's guaranteed you will get something for nothing. Morally, it is the opposite of charity. Exploitation of people, paying people what they call slave wages. That is riba. You are oppressing somebody. They are exchanging their labor for you, and you are paying them nothing or as what it should be. You're not compensating them for their value. It's not equal for equal. Can you see how wide riba extends? Speculative transactions, unjust transfer of wealth. We carry on. Artificial raising of prices. We've all been to an auction, or some of you have been to an auction, and all of a sudden there's one person with a phone, and every time you put a bid, he puts another bid. No, he's got somebody there. He keeps on building the price up. How many times you think, is he really bidding, or is he actually just building the price up? That's riba. And then you question them, and he says, no, everybody has been signed up. In the meantime, it went from 200,000 to 600,000 in the space of less than 30 seconds. That's artificially increasing the price at the market. Collusion, price fixing, holding back resources. We also the jib, shortages of jib, that what happened. Monopolies in the market. Our supermarkets are duopolies. You've got two major chains. Your prices are fixed. Any sale on condition of deferred payment, but there's an increase in price. Buy now, pay later. You guys have all heard of it. Hopefully none of us are involved in it. The sad part is you can buy food now on credit and pay later. This has oppressive, has harm to humanity, not just Muslims. The poorest of the poor will buy food and expect to pay it off installments. And what happens when they don't? When you miss an installment, they hit you with riba. They say it's interest free, but you miss one installment and then you hit you with riba. Restricting the medium of exchange. In other words, you can only sell something if it's based in US dollars. That's riba. Selling at prices below market and selling at prices above the market. Don't create a demand or an oversupply in the market. Allah regulates the market. We shouldn't go and try to influence the market. Our Prophet ﷺ never interfered in the setting of prices. The market should regulate itself because the market is Allah's means of distributing wealth. If we interfere with the market, we are interfering with Allah's means of distribution. Fixing of prices, rent controls, restricting market access. In the market, there's a hadith that says, you cannot go and choose your spot in the market, in the souk. The first person that gets there gets its spot. You can't go and buy from the caravan before the caravan comes to the market. Allow the caravan to come to the market first. These are all principles of don't influence the market. Using the OCR to regulate the economy. This is pure riba. I'm sure nobody would disagree with me by now. But I may be wrong. Unjust taxation. That's riba. Allah has provided us with a system. If we follow the system, Allah asks you for 1/40th of your wealth every year. And He encourages you to give sadaqah over and above that. That system allows you to look after all of the population if you follow the system properly. So there's a complete polar opposite. Allah blesses charity, He destroys riba. And importantly, charity is the act of giving without taking. Riba is the act of taking without giving. So zakah cannot be used to pay for from sources of riba. You cannot use riba to go for Hajj or for donating to the masjid. And the masjid doesn't ask where you get your sources of money from. It's up to us to know what to do. But zakah can be used to get someone out of debt. And this is pointing to the solutions that we are going to start looking at, inshallah. So as riba is harmful or unlawful for a person to consume, how can it be okay to give riba in charity? Right? This is a false. Riba is no blessings. So riba is haram. What can we actually do with the proceeds of riba? Now that people are earning riba and they want to get out of it, what can you do? Well, first what we say is stop deriving riba. Put an end to it. Change your interest-bearing account to one that's not interest-bearing. Stop it. Now think, what can you use with that riba? If Allah has cursed riba, we can't expect to give it away and get a reward. One of the suggestions that we put forward as a potential solution is people who have earned riba, use that riba to offset those who actually owe riba. Use riba to kill riba. It's one of the practical suggestions that we are putting forward. Those who have earned riba and getting out of it, you've got this riba that you've earned. Use it to identify people who are in debt. Use that to pay off the riba on that debt. But don't expect to get any return or reward for it.
This one is stop deriving riba. I think this is very, very important that we make the effort. We make the effort and we try. I have had multiple, not one, here and back home, where brothers were looking for employment and was waiting for employment for a few months, for example, and then an opportunity came, very lucrative, but riba based. So, but they were now in a moral, dilemma, an imani dilemma. Should I take this here, or should I wait for something else? So we will give them advice, and the fact that they came to us, that in itself shows that they were uncomfortable. They took the hard stand, the moral high ground. They didn't opt for those riba-based employments, and Allah gave them something much better. And this example I'm telling you is not one. I had multiple brothers coming back home and here as well. So that first step is very important. That we stop deriving the riba proceeds. We must make that effort. So we can't use an excuse to say that, Mona, what can we do? It's like this, it's like that. We're not making any effort to get out of it.
For interest of time, we're just going to move quickly. There's a common misconception that we can consume riba interest up to the level of inflation. In other words, inflation eats your money down. So whenever CPI is 3% and you earn interest of 5%, then your riba is only the difference between the two. So we just want to put that to bed. Any inflation impact on your money is not valid for you to say that portion of interest is okay. It's not. Riba and the law of necessity. So there are ayats in the Quran that talk about when you are in dire need, you are permitted to consume food which has been haram, which has made been haram. And in that instance, you can go and do something which is haram when you are in dire need. This principle has been used to justify that sometimes we in dire need of getting a house. And so it is acceptable for us in the Western society to buy a house. Now, from our perspective, we are sharing what our views are, but please, our views can be interpreted differently, but this is just our view. Remember, right at the beginning, you must make up your own view on what you believe is right or wrong. In our view, this ayat is limited in a situation where it's a life or death situation and it's a short-term means for you to, what did you say, 3 morsels. Enough for you to straighten your back with 3 morsels. Not for you to use as a principle to justify that I can take out interest on the first home that we are going to be buying. So let's make it absolutely clear this is what our viewpoint is.
So this, I just want to further elaborate on that point. This, unfortunately, this is an area. This is where, people are using this year and trying to stretch the aspect of necessity. In fact, Mufti Taqi Sahab also mentions, it says that what is darurat? Darura is something that without which there will be darar, there will be problems. That is darurat. In 1977, I think it was, where there was a plane crash that took place. You can go and check it up online. And it crashed on some of the Alps, snow mountains. There were a number of survivors. So the survivors were far away from any aid and help. So obviously there was no food for them now, but they had to survive. So then they resorted to eating the dead body, cannibalizing. So they would eat the dead bodies to remain alive. And that's how they survived, and then they found their way out and they got help. That is darura in the definitions of Sharia. So like Kumar was saying, if there is a carcass of carrion or carcass of swine next to us, and we're in a deserted place and there's nothing else, and if I don't eat this here, I'll die. Then by the law of Sharia we must eat that to survive. But we can't use this principle now and say, no, okay, now I have to buy a house, conventional loan, because I'm in need. There's no need here. The government is on top of it. The government helps us here. So how can we use it as a need? How can we use that argument to say that it's a necessity? There's no necessity here. Just go, and means helps you, and there's social aid and everything else. So the law of necessity does not apply here at all. Allah